The first epidural analgesia was done by Corning in 1885 inadvertently. Lumbar dural puncture was introduced in 1891 by Winter in England and Quink in Germany. Von Simpson in 1894 suggested the feasibility of injecting drugs by means of lumbar dural puncture. Beer, a surgeon at the Royal Chirurgical Clinic in Kiel, was the first to inject cocaine into the spinal space. It was between August 16th and 27th, 1898. It took 38 years since Corning's discovery of the epidural analgesia and 25 years since Beer's spinal anesthesia that these two compartments were first combined by Dr. Ryszard Rudzinski in 1923, and then by Soresi in 1937. It took another 42 years until Coeur Leroux in 1979 used this combined spinal epidural anesthesia again. Even the discoveries of Corning and Beer are 13 years apart. The first anesthesia might have been a combined spinal epidural anesthesia was done by God, caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam for rib extraction. The combined approach can also have its origin in the Bible. Two are better than one. Or you can look at it from Mark Twain's point of view. Name the greatest of all inventors. Accident. The Elder combined spinal epidural needle was first introduced in 1990. The Elder needle is a combined spinal epidural needle, which is composed of an 18-gauge epidural needle with a 20-gauge spinal conduit. This is a specialized needle for the combined spinal epidural anesthesia. The epidural catheter can be inserted before the spinal anesthetic injection. The Elder needle facilitates the insertion of a very small gauge spinal needles through its spinal conduit, so it significantly reduces the incidence of post-dural puncture headache. There is no danger of epidural catheter protrusion through the dural hole made by the spinal needle. There are no metallic particles production while the spinal needle passes through the bent epidural needle tip, as the needle-through-needle technique. The procedure of the Elder needle is quite simple and straightforward. First, the spinal needle is introduced into the guide needle, as far as the distal end to the latter. Then, the Elder needle is introduced into the selectal intravertebral space, and the epidural space is located using the well-known indicator methods after the epidural catheter is introduced into the epidural space, confirming its position by the test dose technique. Then, the spinal needle is slowly pushed in to puncture the dura until cerebrospinal fluid is obtained. The anesthetic solution is injected through the spinal needle into the spinal space. Subsequently, the spinal needle is slowly withdrawn from the guide needle, and then the Elder needle is withdrawn, leaving the epidural catheter in position in the epidural space.